Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we are going to cover how to send emails with Python. We will cover various methods, for example, how to send regular text emails, how to format emails with HTML, how to send HTML tables within the body of the email, and how to send emails with attachments. And last but not the least, how to use HTML template within the body of the email. Since all of us have used Gmail in some capacity, so let's start off with the Gmail account. We'll go over how to set it up and how to send a basic email using Gmail. In order to use a third-party app or less secure app with Gmail, we need to configure password or an app password. So I'm going to go over two links. One is for less secure apps, and the second one is for where you have two-factor authentication enabled with Gmail. Both of these links are available in the description below. I'll copy the first link and paste it in my browser. I am already logged into the Gmail account. This will take me to a screen where I can allow access for less secure apps. By default, it is turned off, so I can turn the slider to the right and enable the access for less secure apps. So I'm going to go ahead and enable the access. Now, third-party apps and less secure apps can access Gmail. I'll go ahead and pull the second link and paste it in my browser. At the launch, it will ask me to enter my password, so I will supply my Gmail password. Once I am authenticated, it will redirect me to the app password page. At the moment, I do not have two-factor authentication enabled for this account, so this setting is not available. If you have two-factor authentication enabled, you'll see option to generate an app password. Once you generate an app password, you can use that as your regular password to log into Gmail from third-party apps. I have a brand new Jupyter notebook open, so what I'll do is I'll copy paste the required libraries. Mainly we'll be using the email library. I'll import a few of the necessary component from the email library, like MIME text, MIME applications, and so on, smtp lib, and the OS library. Once these are in place, I am going to go ahead and create a JSON config file where I can store my credentials. In the config file, we have two keys. One is the username, colon, followed by the actual email address or the username. And then we have password, colon, I'll input my password in the double quotes. I'll save this in the current directory under a folder called config, and then I'll import it into my code. Okay, so let's go ahead and read in the JSON config file. I'll declare a variable called content equals, and I'll call in the open method from OS module. And within the open method, we'll pass in the file location. So in single quotes, config folder / gmail.json. This is our file. And now we are going to load this into a config variable. So I'll set the config equal to json.load. Let's go ahead and import the JSON library prior to calling it. And within that load function, I'll pass in the content variable. Just to test it out, I'll go ahead and print the username. So within the print statement, we'll call the config variable, and using the square bracket within the single quotes, we'll pass in the username and hit Shift Enter. We'll print out our email. Let's go ahead and save our username in a variable called email. I'll declare another variable for password and copy paste the code from above. Within the square bracket in the parentheses, I'll switch from username to password. I'll go ahead and execute the cell. Now we have our username and password saved in the variable. Okay, so let's go ahead and declare a couple of variables. First is subject. I'm going to set this equal to hello from Python. Then I'll declare a body variable and set this equal to hello Gmail from Python. Now I'm going to combine these two into a message variable. So I'll set message equal fstring and within the quotes, subject colon, and within curly brace, pass in the subject, and then pass in a couple of new line characters. After that, in curly braces, pass in my body variable. This will be our message. Now we can go ahead and configure Gmail. I'll declare a server variable, set this equal to smtp lib.smtp underscore ssl and pass in the Gmail configuration. It'll be smtp.gmail.com. Now we can use the server and call in the login method. I'll pass in the email and the password variable that we read from the file. Okay, once we are logged in, now we can use the server to call the sendMail method. The sendMail takes a few arguments, so we're going to pass in the from email, to email address, and then the message itself. I'm going to use the same email from and to make sure the rest of the spelling is correct. And to me, everything looks good. So I'll go ahead and execute the cell. It looks like it sent the message. So let's go ahead and check our inbox. It is a success. We do have the message in our inbox with the same subject and body. So this is how we send emails from Python using SMTP library. We are going to improve upon this message in a few seconds, but this is the base code. I will switch over to a local SMTP server that I have configured locally. It is pre-configured with Outlook, so I'll open Outlook and give you a preview of the mailbox. So we'll be sending out messages with SMTP library to this inbox. Head back to my Jupyter Notebook and I will pass in the configuration for the local SMTP server. I will update the config username with local and password with pass. So this will pull in the email and password for the local server. And I will add a cell below and print out the email address. It looks like I need to run the cell above. So I'll go ahead and press Shift Enter to run the cell. And now I can print out the new email address. It is printing out the local email, so which is a good sign. It's the time to update the server configuration and off we go. The local server does not use the SSL, so I can go ahead and remove the SSL clause from the SMTP. And inside the configuration, all we need is localhost. You can go ahead and declare a couple of variables, one for sender and one for receiver. I'll set the sender equal to admin@localmail.com and receiver equal to the actual inbox, which will be receiving the messages hnamaz@localmail.com. Once these are in place, I can go ahead and update the sendMail method and update from and to email addresses with sender and receiver. I'll go ahead and execute the cell and open up Outlook. We have received the message with our subject and body. So this is a good sign. Up next, we'll look at how to format our email messages with HTML. So let's get started with HTML email. Whenever we want to format our text, bold, italic, and so on, or we want to add images, hyperlinks, responsive content, then the HTML comes in handy. The most of the email content that we send out is the MIME type, which is multi-purpose internet mail extension. This is where we combine HTML and plain text. And the MIME type is handled by Python's email.mime module. We have imported that above. First, I'll move the subject variable to the cell above. So I'll copy and paste it and then clear out the cell below. And I am going to paste a HTML formatted message into the cell and then we'll go over it. Let me run the cell to make sure that the variables defined in the message match to the variable that we have. It seems that the receivers have slightly different spelling. So I'll go ahead and fix that. Let me copy paste that. So this message is a MIME type and the content is text and HTML. So I'll go ahead and update my send mail method, and instead of the MSG variable, now we can send out the message variable. I'll go ahead and press Shift Enter to execute this cell. It looks like our email was sent successfully. As we can see that our formatting has been applied to the body. We have a bold text and a H1 tag that we have defined our message. It is coming through properly. So this is how we format our messages using HTML in Python. Let's see how we can send HTML table in the body of the email. So for that, I'll go ahead and import few libraries. I'll import pandas, pyodbc, and pretty HTML tables. I'll execute the cell to import these libraries, and down below, I'll copy paste a function that converts a dictionary into a data frame and returns the data frame once the function is called. We will send the outcome of this function in the body of the email. I am going to go ahead and define another function. I'll call this send underscore mail, and it'll take the body content as an argument. We can use the same sender and receiver. I am going to go ahead and change the subject to top 5 economies of the world. I'm going to declare a message variable, and this email will be my multi-part type email. I am going to go ahead and paste in some attribute for this message, subject, from, and to, just to save some time. And then I am going to declare a body underscore content variable, set this equal to body, that we'll pass into this function. And to the message, we are going to attach the MIME text type and pass in the body content, and the type will be HTML. We can declare a variable to store our body. So I'm going to say message underscore body, set this equal to message dot, and it'll be as string. Once we have this, we can copy the server details from above and post them below. I'll go ahead and fix the indents. And in the send mail function, I can pass in the msg underscore body variable now. Once the server is done sending the email, we can also go ahead and call server.quit function. The server will quit after it sends the email. Okay, I'll go ahead and execute the cell so our function is defined. And in the next cell, I'll go ahead and call the get underscore gdp underscore data function and store it in a data variable. I'll just execute the cell just to showcase that the data frame. So this is the data frame that we will be sending out. And I'm going to go ahead and format this. And so I'm going to declare a variable as output and call in the build underscore table. So this is from the pretty HTML table. You may need to install this library if you have it not installed. To the build table function, I'll pass in the data, that's our variable, and pass in a style of blue underscore light. And once we have that saved, now I am going to go ahead and call send underscore mail function and pass it the output function. I'll go ahead and execute this cell, and it seems everything went well. Now we can check our Outlook, see the outcome of this. We should see a HTML table in the body of the email. Up next, we'll learn how to send attachments in emails. For this, we'll need some data. So I'll copy paste some code that I've used in my prior videos. If you want full detail around this, you can watch the previous videos automating Excel reports with Python. Link is in the description below. So this is using the pyodbc connect method, and we are using the SQL Server Native Client 11. You'll need this on your machine if you want to use this. You can Google it and download the driver, supply the server name, database name, and using this connection and pandas read SQL query method, I am querying the database with the connection that I've defined above and saving that into a data frame. I am going to go ahead and print out the data frame with the df.head method just to make sure that I have queried the database and the data is in the data frame. I'll go ahead and define send underscore data frame function. And in this function, I'll create a variable called multi-part. We are creating a multi-part message using multi-part object. I'll copy the message detail from above, from, to, and subject. I'll go ahead and invite the subject instead of top 5 economies. I can say, please find attached your weekly report or something. So I'll go ahead and update that. And since the multi-part object takes argument and key value pairs, I am going to define a dictionary later on. Using the for loop, we can check if the exporter dictionary, then declare attachment variable. Then we can pass in the binary form of the file to the MIME application method. So we're going to pass in the file name and the data frame. We're going to set the attachment content disposition equal to attachment and pass in the file name. We can also do inline as well, but since we want to attach the file, so we'll declare as an attachment. And then we'll call the multi-part object and dot attach and pass in the attachment. I'll go ahead and change the prefix on the message details. It's supposed to be multi-part. Multi-part is misspelled, so I can correct that. Also, I can copy paste to the rest of the attribute of this object. Okay, that looks good. Now I can copy the server details from above. Okay, and to the server.sendMail, we can pass in the multi-part and we are going to send it as string. So I think our function is ready. I am going to go ahead and run this cell. So our function is defined. So let's go ahead and define that exporter dictionary. So I'm going to set exporter equal curly braces. And here I can provide the name of the file. So in quotes, I'll say weekly product report, and it'll be a CSV file. And after the colon, I can pass in the function. I'll call it export underscore CSV. I'm going to go ahead paste the pre-written code for this function, export underscore CSV. This function will take a data frame. I am going to call the string IO buffer, and then we're going to convert to CSV and pass in the buffer. And then once the data frame is converted to memory, we're going to return the value of the buffer. Okay, that looks good. Now we can call in the send underscore data frame function and pass it the data frame. Let's execute the code. I have made a mistake, misspelled the multi-part in the function, so I'll fix that, rerun the cell, and execute the function again. This time around, it was a success, so our email went through, and now I can go ahead and open my inbox and review the attachment. Okay, here it is. I can go ahead and open the file. It looks good. The data came through as a CSV. If you want, we can go ahead and get rid of the index. To CSV method, we can set the index equal false. We'll see that up next. So I'm going to update the export underscore CSV method. Okay, I forgot to pass in the data frame, so I'll go ahead and pass the data frame to this function. And then in the toCSV method, I'll go ahead after the buffer, I'll set index equal false. So now we won't see the index in our. I'll cover one last thing in this session. We'll see how to use HTML template. Let's say you have an HTML template and you want to send that in the body of your email. Go ahead and give you a preview of the HTML template that I have. So this is the HTML template, and let's say we want to send this in the body of the email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste the code and go over it. We need to provide the file path to the HTML template, and I'm reading it as a raw string. We're going to open this file in read mode with UTF-8 encoding. Once we have it open, we read this file and save it into a temp variable. Okay, so we can head over to our send data frame function and add another clause. So I'll say multi-part dot attach. It'll be a MIME text type. So within the parentheses, we can pass in our temp variable. This is where we have saved the template into the temp variable, and the type will be HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and update my function. Let's send the email again with the template. Okay, I'm going to refresh my inbox and I have an email there. Let's open the email and download the picture. The template looks good so far. Let me review the file. Okay, and expand. It looks good, but we still see the index in the first column of the file. So let's head back and update all the functions. I believe the export CSV has not been updated, so I'm going to update everything, rerun the cell and update these functions. and let's try again. Okay, and let me head back to my inbox and open the attached file, expand all the columns. Okay, this time it looks perfect. The index is gone from the file. So this is how we use HTML templates in the body of our email. All the code that we have gone over, it's available in GitHub. You can download and practice. In the upcoming videos, we are going to be utilizing some of these techniques, such as sending the data frame as a HTML table within the body of the email, and sending out attachments. Today we have covered CSV, but we'll be covering Excel files, PDF files, and much more. This is all for now. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Post any questions or comments that you may have, and see you in the next video.